Welcome to episode 767 of I Am Talk, your weekly fix in all things Iron Man. Rightio team, welcome along to episode 767 of I Am Talk. Not with Coach John Newsom and Bevan James Isles. We've got Scott Molina here today.
Isn't that cool, huh?
Isn't that cool? On Newsom, it's the first time he's never been able to do the show. And I said, why don't we get Molina to be the guest host?
I think it's a good idea. And I also think, 10 years, just you and him, it's about time you guys had a few guest hosts now and then.
Okay, you like that? I like this.
Yeah.
We can have some holidays.
Sure.
Yeah. You've been swimming this morning?
I have had a short and sweet session at Equigym, my favorite pool. I'm at the moment, I'm in there 5 days a week.
Why is it your favorite pool?
Oh, my buddy, maybe my best friend, Brett Naylor owns it, for one thing. And it's convenient and it's quiet, and I almost always have my own lane.
Oh, that's so key. Nothing worse than swimming with Muppets, eh?
Yeah.
I Am Talk is proudly brought to you by Beam. Beam creates high quality functional supplements for better balance, support, and recovery and sleep. You can check out the beam.com and you get the discount code IAMTalk at checkout. John, I keep calling you John.
It's okay.
I've just changed my habits.
It's okay. You've done this. You are probably running on autopilot for the most part.
Okay, so we've got patrons. You can go first.
John Ennis, his tipping point.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where that came from.
Yeah.
Florian Haig is the fast mofo.
And Gavin Duffy is the big brew.
Well, Gavin Duffy and John will be pretty happy that Scott Molina said it. This week's show, we've got some news. We've got a hot topic of the week. We've got a high five. I chucked some questions or a question on Facebook, questions for Molina. And so we got some questions from there. And I think I've got a few random I'm going to throw at you as well.
Okay.
And then Coach's Corner, what are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to talk about some advice, generic advice for the over 50s. But even over 60s, I guess it applies even more, the advice that I'm going to try to convey today.
Yeah. How long have you been doing the sport for? I
started in 1980, so that's almost consistently since then.
So 41 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with the experience you have, it's pretty phenomenal. And maybe a wanger at the week at the end. Okay, team, so one of the big results that we had over last weekend, we had Super League Rotterdam. It was another one of our arena races. Have you been getting into it?
A little bit, yeah. It's exciting, but the new format with the pool and the indoor bikes and the indoor running, it's COVID forced it on everybody, but I didn't think it would be that exciting.
Yeah,
but it's turned out to be great.
Did you do one of the ones in the 80s? Because in the France they did them in the 80s.
No. I remember Brad Bevan and Mark Allen and Simon Lessing did it, but no, I was just about at the end of my career then. I think it was about mid-90s when that happened.
Okay.
And but what a cool concept, huh?
I have to admit, I watched the one in the 80s, and as a visual...
90s.
Oh, sorry, in the 90s. It wasn't that exciting to watch.
Well, I think that the TV coverage was just in its infancy for triathlon.
Yeah.
And so I'd imagine now the coverage would be a lot better.
Well, and especially with the use of Zwift as a part of it, it makes it really great to watch now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the results from last weekend, we had, who took out the men's race? We had, overall, Martin Van Riel took it out with 30 points. Alex Yee from Great Britain came in second, and then Raphael came in third. So that was the males race.
One comment on that.
Go.
This guy who, they said he let out the swim on one of the first swims in 2:02 for the 200.
Jeez.
I mean, that's moving along. That just goes to show you these guys are fast.
And it's just top end racing, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, in my day, I don't know, we probably had one guy, Rick Wells, who could do that sort of time.
What would you swim? Like if you were just doing 100, if you're in your peak, you're smashing 100?
No, I'd go under a minute.
Yeah.
But 2:02 for 200, that's booking. That's moving along. So that was one of the standout things that what was a takeaway from that race.
Do you like the way they're doing the different, it's the kind of swim, run, bike, do you like the way they're throwing the format around?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it changes things. The thing about the Zwift racing is you can draft.
Yeah.
And so like Super League or ITU, but the advantage for that drafting is that the runners do have an advantage because they can sit in on the bike. And so if you put the swim at the end, then the swimmers have the advantage.
Yeah, which is quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah, kind of. It makes it a more fair race overall, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay, females race. We had Sophie Corwell take it out, Beth Potter from the UK, and then Anna Goddy, I'm going to say. So it's just some really good racing. As you said, I just think it's another aspect to the sport that keeps it entertaining. And I think it's going to be really exciting when crowds involved.
Yeah. So, and the Brits, man, Sophie Caldwell and Potter, man, those chicks are running fast. You maybe mentioned last week that girl Potter ran 14:41 for 5K.
I know.
And I don't know if it's the shoes. They probably count for something.
Yeah.
But man, that woman, I mean, she's legit. She was a British 10,000 meter champion on the track and represented Britain at the Olympics in running in Rio. And so very exciting to see her looks like fully commit to triathlon now.
What's your thoughts on the shoes?
They're faster. They're definitely
But do you think they should be banned or?
I don't think you can. I don't think it's like the super bikes. It's like swimsuits. It's just technology, helping people to go faster.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you can go back. No, every company's developing a shoe like that now. So it's much more, everybody's got the same opportunity to use that sort of technology.
Well, as a fan, I know you're a triathlete and to the core, but of the three sports, as an individual sport, what are your favorite to watch? Like
cycling.
You do?
Yeah. I'm still, even though the history of cycling is so checkered, I still love it as a sport, a spectacle, and I appreciate, how much those guys suffer.
Yeah.
But I watch athletics. I watch swimming, usually like the World Championships and the Olympics, especially. When the Olympics roll around, I'm glued to the TV. I'm watching lots of sports, but that's when I really get into swimming. Yeah.
Okay, another piece of news is that we've got a new title sponsor for Kona. It's a company called Super Sapiens. They basically are using a glucose device to help you. I remember a few years ago we were in Kona and Daniel Hughes, who's a bit of a top-end scientist, he had one of these stuck to his arms, and this would be about 6 years ago, a long time ago, and it was kind of, he was saying this is going to be the new thing.
Well, I did read through all the blurbs from that company, Abbott. Abbott's huge.
200 million.
Billion.
Oh, billion, sorry, 200 billion.
Yeah, it's a massive company. So this connection for WTC, for Ironman, is obviously a very good one.
Yeah.
It's not a small company.
No.
But I was looking at this thing thinking, how can this thing monitor your blood glucose instantly?
Yeah.
And then I didn't read all the papers, the research papers that went into developing this product, but I did read their blurbs about how it works. And it's a little needle that goes into your skin, and it measures your blood glucose instantaneously, really, and sends a signal to this app on your phone, and it seems to be too good to be true.
Yeah.
And usually when it's too good to be true, it usually is. I don't believe it. And so, but this time it looks like it's incredible science, and
it could be a real game changer, couldn't it? Because ultimately, what you're learning is you're getting instant feedback. It's kind of like a power meter on the bike, isn't it?
Yes.
So you're getting instant feedback of what's happening with your nutrition, so you can make better choices instead of kind of guessing and hoping.
That's right. And they give advice about keeping your blood glucose in a certain level, a certain window.
Yeah.
Is optimal. Too low, and you're probably impeding your recovery and getting a diminished workout, and too high, you're getting more muscle damage through inflammation. And so I don't know. I mean, it's probably a little bit too high tech for me to try and use now, but
it's interesting, isn't it? Because you were in a time in the infancy of the sport when you were racing as a pro, and science kind of wasn't a big factor as a part of it. You guys were kind of figuring it out as you were going. And I know for you, hot races were always a real struggle for you. And that's why, you got your Kona win, but Kona wasn't really made for you. Imagine if you'd had a device like this as an athlete. Do you ever think to yourself, shit, if I had the science I had today, what could have I been?
A little bit, but I also think it might have impeded or my progress because I wasn't limited by any information. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. So it's like I didn't know what was wrong, what was right. And so it was very much a feel thing, certainly in races, like not having a power meter or not having a heart rate monitor. You never felt like you were going too hard, really. You thought I should go harder.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can go harder.
So it was about containing yourself?
Yeah, for the most part, but you weren't limited by numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So one other thing on this piece here is that it's good for Ironman because if you think of this title sponsors in the last few years, sometimes you'll turn up to Kona and they've announced it 2 days beforehand, which means it's a bargain sale for the sponsors. And some of the sponsors have been
that's right,
pretty Mickey Mouse. They had Ford for a long time.
Yeah.
And that was obviously a pretty big sponsor.
Yeah.
But, if a company like, what was the name of the company? Abbott, something like Abbott, $200 billion. And they're not just investing in Kona, they're investing in quite a few of the top races that Ironman put on each year.
No, I'd say it's really good for the sport in general.
Yeah, it is.
Have companies of that size thinking, okay, this is our target market.
Last weekend we recently had Florida 70.3, some other big wins here as well.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Just clicking on the...
Yeah, we got. Well, first of all, we had Emma Pallant take out the win in the females race. She had a really strong swim bike run. She came in first over... Now, they don't have the actual people here, but we're going to say second would have been Smith and Jackson third. Now, that might not be official. That's right. That is right. So Emma Pallant took it out that race, and then the males race in fourth place. We had Bart Arnott's take out the males race. We haven't actually heard... I know last year we had race, but he hasn't done a lot. Remember when he had that great race, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and so it's good to see him still at it. Same with Emma Pallant. She's done everything from cycling to running to, duathlon. And it's good to see her still having the desire to put herself through all the training to, race at this level.
How did you find that in the last part of your career? The desire? Because I know you kind of lose your speed, don't you?
Yeah, and I was pretty broken. I had 93 off because I was so broken, and then came back in 94, and half of 95 before I stopped. And so the desire was still there, but it was waning. It was not. Let's say if through my 20s desire was 100%, then I was definitely running at 85, 90%.
Yeah.
When I stopped, but I think it was. Also, because I had one child already, second on the way, and so
life was changing.
Life was changing, and I knew that it was coming to an end, and so I was just starting to move in a different direction.
How were your performances at that stage?
Not bad in 94, 95. They were okay, but there was some better guys, more talent coming through. Simon Lessing coming through, and Mark Allen was still racing really well, and so. Miles Stewart. So I remember a few guys. Yeah. So I didn't get as many wins on the board as I did previously. Yeah. Even though my level was probably the same.
Yeah. What was it like when Lessing turned up? Because there's always the passing of the guard, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago when I think it was Kienle won Kona, and there was just this period where the young guys weren't coming.
Yeah.
And Macca was always giving a bit of shit, kind of saying, come on, young guys, where are you? And then Kienle won, and Kienle's pretty out there.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, buggers, piss off, kind of. And there was this moment where there was always a transition, and there's for you that Lessing was the moment, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it happened a few years earlier because I was able to race with Simon on a team at the French Iron Tour.
Yeah.
And he was on my team. And at the very first stage, I knew who he was, and he was having great results. But I showed up in great shape with Mike Pigg and Jimmy Riccatello and Wes Hobson.
What a team.
Andy Carlson. Good guys. Really, really good guys. And we were all fit and motivated. And it's like, okay, we got Simon on our team. We're going to crush this thing, right? And the very first stage was a prologue, 750 swim, 20K bike, 5K run. And we drafted off Andy on the swim, but then Simon and Mike Pigg on the bike we were barely hanging on. And then on the run, Simon had to push most of the team. He was running behind them, pushing them. I've told the story. And he'd push them right past us, and then he would drop back and go get whoever got dropped behind.
Jeez.
And push them all right past us, hand on the back, and push them right past us.
Did he push you?
No, he didn't. Mike Pig and I are yelling at each other. Don't get pushed. We ain't gonna get pushed. And so anyway, it was just so clear that this guy was so much better than us, and we were all in great shape.
And in that moment, do you lose a bit of competitive edge?
No. I thought, there's always Iron Man. He's doing. He's not doing that yet. So no, I was inspired by the guy straight away.
Yeah. Who do you think that right now? Because when Brownlee came along, that happened.
Yeah. I'm sure that a lot of guys said the same thing. It's like let's get out of ITU and go to half Ironman or Ironman.
Who do you think is that right now? Can you see that at the moment in ITU?
Well, good question. The French guy who had the penalty in Daytona, he'd been romping Super League and ITU lately. He might be a guy that thinks I'm nearing the end of my career, and I know he's hanging on till Tokyo now, but I can't place his name, but I can't remember my own name.
Is it Louis?
Louis.
Yep.
Vincent Louis. And so, a guy like that, might think, especially when he looks at the Super League and the indoor racing that's happening now, and what guys like Yee and our
even Hayden Wild,
guys who are running 13:30 on the track for 5K, and Vincent must be thinking, nah, I'm not going to be able to run that.
And Vincent was the runner, wasn't he?
He was, and a good runner, but he's not going to run that fast.
Yeah. Got an exciting race coming up in the next period of time, because Challenge have announced that the Gran Canaria race has got all the men's Ironman World Champions from 2015 are going to be racing at this race. So it's a stack field. So you got Frodeno, you got Keenley, and you've got
Patrick Langer.
Yeah, Patrick Langer. That's a bit of a coup, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be a good race. I'd say, based on Frodeno's recent results, though, man, that guy is right back.
Why is he so good?
I know he's very disciplined, and even though he's had his little periods of being broken with his back and then a stress fracture. Remember, after he won the 70.3 World Champs in South Africa, he seemed like he was untouchable, was going to kill Kona, and got a stress fracture. And so, God, it seems like the desire is still there, He's won everything.
He is, isn't he?
He's won everything and been just about unbeatable for, 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it, so I don't know how he keeps his motivation, but he seems to love it.
Well, that's another example of science working, because he's, 38, 39, so science for the longevity of a career has really changed the game, hasn't it?
Yeah, and the coaching, he's obviously getting some very good advice. Although, at his level, it's inevitable that you're going to break down at times.
Yeah.
But he seems to have bounced back at a time when you think, okay, he's done everything. Why would he put himself through all that misery to get back, to the top level again? But he's done it.
It was interesting. You think of like a Chrissy who couldn't go, eventually she quit because it was just she couldn't go back to that place. It was, and you'd see Chrissy in Kona and you knew she had left nothing unanswered. She turned up, she almost looked a bit sick at Kona at times, didn't she?
Yeah.
And, for her, after I think she won 4 Konas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
After 4, she was like, I just don't want to go back to that place. It's just too demanding on my life. And it's understandable, isn't it?
Yeah, and she probably also always knew, or had an idea in her own mind that if she had established a platform to go on to do other things in the world, be significant things, that she would use that platform. And so she went, after 4 times winning Kona, she had that platform. And so I think in her mind, it was like, what's 5 times or 6 times or 7 times going to do for me now? I've done what I wanted to do.
The only problem is it robbed us of a Daniela Chrissy moment.
Oh,
how cool would have that been?
Yeah, it would have been good.
Yeah, because you don't see Daniela doing that. You see her being kind of like a Paula Ray, just kind of there to the end.
Well, yeah, I never take it for granted, but yeah, she might be like that. And her teammate, Nicholas Spirig, seems to be coming back for another Olympic team in Tokyo. And she's been around forever as well. So, yeah, some of these women, they just seem to even have kids and want to come back.
Yeah, it's so crazy. On the Olympics, it's less than 100 days to Tokyo. I thought it'd be a good chance to have a chat to you about the Olympics. I know the Olympics holds a special place in your heart because I remember you talking to me about your father took you to the Olympics. Was it Mexico, was it?
Montreal. 1976.
And
it was life-changing.
Yeah, there was a moment that really made you go, I want to be. Tell us about it because it's such a cool story.
Well, we watched a variety of sports because we were kind of late to booking our trip and our tickets and all that. Because my dad was just a working dude. He was just a factory worker at Dow Chemical, and so. It wasn't a sure thing, and there was 7 kids in my family.
Wow. And
I was the only one that got to go.
Oh, really? How'd that happen?
Well, I was just the serious athlete, really.
Okay.
And I was into it.
How old are you at this stage?
I was 16.
Okay.
Right? And so I was just into it, and so we went to Montreal. We watched mostly track and swimming and some of the free stuff from the side of the road, like the marathon, which was incredible. Frank Shorter got a silver there, and but I remember the most moving thing was when John Walker won the 1500 meters.
Really?
I was in the stadium.
Wow!
And I thought, look at that guy. He is the most. I thought this is.
He was cool too, wasn't he?
He had long hair.
Yeah.
And he was buffed.
Yeah.
And it was just the whole package. And I thought, that is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I was a swimmer kid at the time. I was running cross country and track, but I wasn't so into that at the time. But then I kind of moved into running shortly after that, really full time.
I'm so gutted because I was just a little bit too young to know Walker's years.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, you knew of John Walker because he's a New Zealand icon.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing news pieces where he's trying to beat 100 sub 4 minute Ks. Like beast, and he did it too, didn't he? I think he did
sub 4 minute miles.
Yeah, that's right.
He did like wake up and run a sub 4 minute mile. It's like putting on your pants.
But he was just a beast, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what an amazing man.
And so this year we've got the Olympics coming up, and it's been COVID postponing it. Is it going to happen? But it does look like it's going to go ahead. First of all, what are your thoughts on the triathlon in both the males and the females, and who you kind of thinking?
Well, the British team's looking amazing in the women's, as opposed to American women in the past 8 years. But as far as overall strength. Same for the British men. Incredible. I like our young Kiwi Hayden Wild's chances.
Does it affect that he doesn't have other people?
No, it doesn't. If his swim's good enough that he can get out of the water and sit in the pack, and follow the moves, any significant moves. You have to be very attentive, of course, because there will be some team tactics going on. Let's see who else.
Who of the old guard? Is it Brownlees? Either the Brownlees? Is it too late and long in the tooth for those guys?
Well, on recent form, you'd have to say they're probably not going to get there.
Yep.
And I don't think Alistair's chances after having moved to long stuff at his age.
Yeah.
He's coming back to be able to go this fast, as fast as these guys are going. I just don't see it. And his brother Jonathan is a little bit younger, but it's the same thing on recent form. You have to say, well, doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
But looking at other countries, there are a few guys around the world, like this guy who just won this latest Super League race. That seemed to be pretty good, but I think it's still pretty wide open.
Yeah. What about the teams? It's great. It's a great dynamic for the Olympics.
It is, and you only got to have 2 of each.
Yeah.
But again, British seem to have the depth.
Yeah.
Right at the moment. So I would at the moment I'd be predicting them first and second. Unfortunately for New Zealand, we have 2 pretty good guys. Our women are just a little bit behind at the moment.
Yeah.
To have the Kiwis be competitive in the team. Same with Australia. They don't seem to have enough of the top 5, top 6 in the world that you would need to win.
So you're really saying it just being a Great Britain
Yeah, it seems like both men and women at the moment, they're the favorites.
Wow. Olympics, you know, when you sit down, you know, like for me, it's right off 2 weeks of my life kind of moment, the Olympics. You know, like I remember when we were in Great Britain, because it was the worst time for us when they were in Great Britain. And I had to go to Asia for work after about 10 to 12 days, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after about 7 days, I had to go to Asia for work, and I was so glad because I just wasn't sleeping.
Right.
And so what are the highlights for you just for the Olympics as an overall?
Well, I like a lot of sports. Like I would never ever watch, let's say, gymnastics.
Yeah.
You know, I would probably never ever watch any other sports like water polo. You know, and so I always. You're right. You get sucked in.
You do, don't you?
And you start watching all these things that you never watch. Volleyball, you know. Oh God, you name it. But I do watch a lot of athletics, a lot of swimming. Even weightlifting at times is
those guys they're probably drugged up, but they're phenomenal, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, the weight they're lifting.
Even the tiny guys.
Yeah.
You know, like 5'4" Bulgarians, you know. Whack! It's like 100 kg straight over his head. It's like, what? Yeah, so you're right. It's one of those times during your life when you do need to reschedule most of your life. Just put the rest of life on hold.
What are your favourite moments as a fan of the? You know, when you look back over all the Olympics you've watched, are there some moments that really stand out?
Well, I had a bunch of heroes early on in swimming and in track. And when they came through, won the gold medals. Remember this swimmer, when I was a swimmer kid named Brian Goodell. He was like the first guy to swim around 15 minutes for 1,500 meters.
Okay.
And,
Jeez, really?
Yeah, and so he was one of my idols. And when he won the gold, I think he won the gold in the 1,500, you know, that was just like, okay, yeah, I got to be like him.
Really?
Yeah, but let's see what else. When Joan Benoit won the first women's marathon.
Well, that's phenomenal. Because was she had
84.
And she'd been injured, hadn't she, leading into it?
Yeah, she had a knee surgery.
And they said, let her go, didn't they?
Yeah.
They thought, oh, she's injured, she's nothing.
Yeah. And she was just like pedaling a hand cycle, doing all this other stuff that she could do to stay in shape and not lose it. And then she just ran away with it. It was amazing.
And that was LA as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hot. And she had this funny little funky trucker hat on. Yeah. And let's see what else. What moments stand out? Cycling that year, I think was the Alexi Graywall won the gold in the men's, and Connie Carpenter won the gold in the women's road race. That was amazing. And so by then I was doing triathlons in 84, so I was following cycling quite a bit. Well, that was one of the things that got me to move to Boulder, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because that's where the cyclists were.
Yeah. So all the best American cyclists were training out of Boulder. And then
Did you get to connect with them? Did you train with them?
Yeah, I did. I was pretty lucky in that way because especially because a good buddy of mine, Ray Browning, good Ironman guy, won I think 7 Ironman titles.
We had him on Legends.
So he made friends with Davis Finney, who was the king of cycling in America at that time. And so because Ray got to train with Davis, then triathletes were sort of accepted as you know, okay though. We'll let them tag along.
You can sit at the back.
Yeah, you can sit at the back. Yeah.
But did you know your place? Did you know you could?
Yeah. I mean, I also got to know a few of the other guys a little bit because when we were training in the winter in San Diego, some of the top cyclists would come and train with us in January and February before they went to Europe or before it warmed up in Boulder. And so like I got to ride with Andy Hampston, for example, the guy who won the 88 Giro Italia. And so, you know, you get some street cred if you hang with those guys, you know, train with those guys. And then, you know, the other cyclists think, okay, you know.
What were you learning from them at that time?
Mostly the patience to do the long, boring shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, long, boring rides. You know, those guys have tremendous patience to do 5 or 6 hour rides.
Yeah.
You know, lots and lots and lots of them.
Really? So just mass volume.
Yeah, they ride a lot. So they ride so much. And then they just, you know, it's just chit chat and listen to something on your radio or your podcast, or that was before podcasts actually. So your CD players, or you know, or just nothing, just twiddling away, you know, just riding easy, moderate, you know, hours and hours and hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different kind of life, isn't it? Swift Running League has been launched, and so it's basically like the cycling league they've had, and it's a running league, and they're also going to have some duathlons. Just an interesting another aspect that's been brought to our sport as an overall, isn't it?
Well, I haven't actually followed the cycling league too much, and so this new thing,
Have you done the Swift on a treadmill?
No, never.
No, neither.
No.
It'd be interesting to see how popular it is. So did you see in Peloton in America being sued because a child died on a treadmill? I think it was this week I read the article. Yeah, and they're being sued for safety, and it's turning out to be a real big problem. Yeah.
So I don't get it because it encouraged this kid to keep going or something.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know the full details of how the child passed away, unfortunately. But yeah, the health and safety of it, which is interesting. Which is because treadmills do have a higher risk factor, don't they? If you're racing, like you've worked in gyms, you've seen people fall off treadmills, and
I don't see how somebody could be responsible from a distance, encouraging a kid to kill themselves somehow. Yeah. No, I wonder what will happen with that.
Yeah, maybe hopefully it's nothing. Yeah. But yeah, it's just. I think we are moving into a moment where it was really obvious right now that racing is changing. Yeah.
I mean, it says here that the league now has over 1,800 teams, and recently announced duathlon league has 1,600 participants in its first season. I mean, that's a lot of people. Yeah. So I mean, indoor training and racing is here to stay, I'd say. Yeah.
And it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
It's when you think of the technology we're moving toward, it's pretty phenomenal stuff. Okay, we're going to do hot topic discussion of the week, and just go to our Facebook. You know where that is, Scott? I'm just kind of training the new host on the job. Go to Facebook and look for our discussion of the week. The discussion was, what would be your ultimate one-day epic triathlon challenge? So if you could design the ultimate challenge for yourself as a triathlete, what would that be? And I'm just kind of pulling up the page myself here right now. So if I go down to discussion of the week, yep, there it is. Okay, we had 16 comments, and I'm going to start with, I'll go first, Scott. I've got Gareth Beck. He's got swim without getting ice cream head, while still being able to feel my feet and run with a cake at the end. Simple things in life. Epic is a time for when life is getting back to normal. Have you got the page?
I'm just bringing it up. I'm not as quick as you.
So you go to I and talk, and then you look for, I'll do the next one. I'll go Grant Clifford. Sounds like many sprint triathlons as you can do in 24 hours. The record is 11 in 24. That's a cool idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many sprint triathlons you could complete in 24 hours?
Oh my God.
You'd be pretty sore at the end of it. Have you found it?
Yeah. What would your 16 comments? Oh my goodness.
So I've done Gareth and Grant.
I'm amazed that that many people would even be interested in this idea.
That was John's idea. I'll give him credit for that. Okay, so
Thomas O'Quirk.
Yep.
One that actually went ahead that I could train for would be a start. That or an Ironman brand actually becoming customer focused. So he's a little bit sour there.
Kevin McGregor's got Norseman. You haven't done Norseman, have you?
No, I've done Celtman.
Oh, did you do Celtman?
In Scotland, yeah.
What was that like?
Oh my God. My marathon time was 7 hours and 20 minutes, I think.
Really?
Oh. No.
So how much trekking, how much running?
Well, time-wise, about half and half.
Okay.
But the only reason is because I'm such a bad technical runner on the really rocky stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Like we were going along these knife edge ridges on top of these Monroes.
Is it scary?
Oh, shit. I'm so bad at that stuff. Where if you fall,
it's game over.
Well, you might not die, but you're going to want to wish you had because you're going to be so mangled. But you see people that are good at that. Mountain goats that just go boop 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 boop. They're just hopping from rock to rock, and flying past me and gone. And so no, I was just so bad at the technical part that took me ages. But
did you enjoy it?
The event overall, it was an amazing event. Longest event I've ever done by far. I think I was out there well over 15 hours.
Wow.
But incredible event, incredible part of the world.
Is this so? Obviously, the run is epic, but is the cycle pretty tough as well?
Yeah, it was, and it was also 202 kilometers.
Huh.
Yeah, windy, hilly. Yeah,
you're really selling it.
Yeah. No, I mean those extreme events are super challenging.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Dennett's got this weekend, 10th of April, I'm running the London to Bristol 112 miles, raising money for children and Hospice Southwest charity. Nice work, Paul. Hopefully it went well.
Wow, where are you getting this? I'm up to Peter Colson.
Oh, you do, Peter? Yep.
Oh, you've done that one.
Yep.
Yeah, Richard Swan. You haven't done that one yet.
No, you do Peter, and I'll do Richard.
Peter Colson, 24 triathlons, starting on the hour every hour for 24 hours. Distance probably 400 meters, 12K, 3K.
That'd be pretty tough, wouldn't it?
Well, 24 of those? Yeah, 24 times 3K. Let's see, what's that? That's 70, almost 70K. Running? Jeez. Yeah, that's a lot, Peter.
That is pretty lot. Richard Swan's got swim the quick straight, bike the Kakura Park, and then laps of the park, 42 laps of the park, probably around 1K each. So swim the quick straight.
Oh, man.
That'd be pretty tough.
Richard, you don't know how hard that is. I think the record's about 7 hours, but most people do it in about 9.
Because it's all tidal, isn't it?
Yeah. So that would you'd have to get that.
Well, they're based on the mountains now. He might be.
Well,
he seems up to it right now.
Well, that was a very impressive topo.
He tells you off if you get it wrong.
Yeah, I'll be told off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a very impressive swim.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, wasn't it? You can finish off with David.
David Manley.
Yeah.
At the moment, actually go for a swim. So his pool must not be open.
Okay.
Actually ride outside than any sort of run over 10K. Yeah, look at it. What's that face? He's crying. Yeah, he's being tortured from being stuck inside, obviously.
It's we have been pretty lucky, haven't we? New Zealanders. It's one of those. There's a famous song in New Zealand is "We Don't Know How Lucky We Are." It's by a guy called Fred Dagg.
Right.
And it kind of just represents that Kiwis just don't really realise the kind of lifestyle we have. But with COVID, we've just had it so sweet, and the world's suffering so much, even to this day. We've opened our borders to Australia. We're so lucky, aren't we? Especially as athletes.
Yeah. No, we, especially the South Island.
Yeah.
Aucklanders have had it harder than we have. But no, it's just like life is normal here. It's so funny when I see people go into the supermarket countdown and they do the COVID tracing app with their phone. I'm like, there hasn't been anybody has COVID in the South Island for how long? 6 months? More? I don't know. Whatever. It's like ever. Yeah. It's like, and yet it's like people are just, we'll do the right thing and we'll.
Well, it definitely helps that we are a kind of compliant country, aren't we? We do just kind of, let's do this. It's going to work. We don't distrust our government here, do we?
No. Yeah. But it's. I'm still amazed after this many months that people are still thinking, we need to watch out and be vigilant and all that. Yeah.
What would be your epic one-day triathlon challenge?
Well, one day. Good question. I mean, I do like those really hard events. I've done a number of really difficult triathlons over the years, and but if I had to, if it wasn't a race like Kelpman, I'd probably do something similar to what you guys did for the was it the 10th year anniversary or whatever? Yeah. The Akaroa ride.
Swim across the bay.
Swim across the bay, Akaroa ride, and the run was out on Godley Head, right?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah. It was actually a pretty cool course, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it'd probably be something like that.
So what we did is we swam over, was it Cass Bay? Was it? No, Corsair Bay.
Corsair Bay.
Was it across the
Quail Island back?
Quail Island back.
Right. Yeah.
So we swam. It's basically one of the big ports, Littleton.
Yeah.
So we swam across there, and then the next day we actually did over 3 days, or 2.5 days. But if you did in one day, oh my God, that would be a crazy day.
Yeah.
So then you jumped on the bike and we rode to Akaroa and back, and that's a good challenging ride, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. They do it as a race called La Race. How many times have you done a race?
Probably 3 or 4.
It's a great race, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you're in New Zealand and you haven't done it, it's just because it's honest.
Yeah.
You can't sit in the pack in that race, can you? No. You're honest. And then we did a run, which is maybe one of the beautifulest runs in the world, where you kind of run past your area, don't you?
Yeah, that's my local yokel run.
Yeah, and it's paradise. It is.
Yeah.
That's just absolutely paradise. And it's a good challenging run as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good epic day. For me, if it was a race, I'd love, if I ever got back to doing long distance, Norseman would be the one.
Right.
Or like a Kelpman, just to do that kind of, can you survive?
Yeah.
That kind of thing was always really appealing.
Yeah.
Or doing big landmarks. So you could do like a 5K swim, 200K bike, and a 50K run. So you're just doing big chunks of, the big numbers.
Yeah.
Something like that in a day would be pretty cool as well. And somewhere beautiful.
Yeah.
The scenery would have to be pretty stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to get you to answer this week's question for next week's question, because you won't be here next week. So, what era had the best triathlon fashion? Were you cool with fashion when you were training, when you were an athlete?
No. Scott Tinley was the cool fashion guy.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and then he started his own clothing line.
Yeah.
Of course.
And he sold it, didn't he? Sold it to Reebok, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And so no, I just was not cool. I did have long hair and a ponytail, but a lot of guys did at that time.
I think the photo.
We also had Kenny Souza in my era.
Oh yeah.
And he was just a magazine cover boy.
Did he really get a lot more covers because he was just cool?
Oh yeah,
Oh really?
Yeah, because he won everything too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had the big hair like the '80s.
And he had the big Oakley's glasses. He kind of made those popular, didn't he?
Yeah, he helped Oakley out a lot. And but he had the big hair, like the big hair bands. Aerosmith and Van Halen, those guys. That was the kind of hair he had. So no, I wasn't.
Although I will say, I think you have arguably the best Kona photo finish. You look cool in that photo. You do, because you were in Nike, weren't you?
That was pretty retro. Yeah, I just had running shorts and a singlet.
Yeah,
and
you look pretty relaxed, obviously,
and a hat.
Yeah. You
so
actually look pretty cool in that shot.
So that was pretty retro stuff back then. I mean, you don't see anybody running in
running gear
nowadays.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. Good time. So the question for this week is: what era had the best triathlon fashion?
Ooh, it certainly was not the '80s. I would say. Wasn't when the Mankini phase either. I would say it's probably right now, because of the fabrics and the fashion in the one piece stuff has gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
it looks better. Yeah,
because it did look terrible at times, didn't it?
It did.
Okay, let's get into the high five. 1, 2, 3, 4. High five. Okay, so on Facebook, I just jumped on Facebook earlier this week, and I just said Molina's going to be on the show. He's going to be the guest host. So, what are some questions that you have for Scott Molina, just in anything at all? And I might throw a few random questions in there. And I'm just pulling this up myself right now. So here we go. So question number 1 is from, I've got Christopher Doyle. This Scott Molina. Okay. He doesn't even give a question. Okay. John Hancock, top tip. Scott, you once talked about bike tyres. Just spend the money on new tyres before the race. It's one less thing that can go wrong on the day. Such sensible advice. He also said the iPod was the greatest technology for breakthrough in triathlon, which he totally agrees. He would love to hear some of the funny epic stories from early on in the epic kind of, because how long has Epic been going for now?
Well, we started in 2003. Let's see, it was Gordo. There was only, I'll tell you, that was a good camp. It was me and Gordo.
Klaus?
Was Klaus? I don't think Klaus was there. Okay. Could have been, maybe. But I know Chris McDonald was there. A guy named John Mergler, who many people will know of, who recently tried to do 100 Ironmans in 100 days. And a guy who became a very good friend of mine, Andrew Charles.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had a good group, and just winging it, really. We did have a support crew and all that, but we had amazing weather.
That was here?
That was here, South Island, Tekapo, 240K the first day. So we did swim, bike, run every day, and then we went to Wanaka. We had amazing winds down there, and then we went to Queenstown, and then we went to, where did we go from there? Shit, probably made our way back.
Yep.
I can't remember exactly, but so that was 2003 when it started, and then from there we did. We did one in the North Island, and then we started to branch out a bit more. We did one in Colorado, I think in 2004. We were doing 2 a year then. And so we would do one in New Zealand and one somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so we went to France, we went to Italy, and just after then, I think we went to Australia, did this amazing camp over 12 days where it was just incredibly hot at times. And that's when John Newsom came along. I think Pete O'Brien was the main director for that camp, but I think John might have come along maybe just after that. So I think John Newsom came into the camp at about, I'll guess, 2007 or 8.
Yeah, I think he did the Australian one. I do remember him talking about the Australian one.
Okay,
Yeah,
he
I
did-
think I did. I think I came around 2007. I think that's the first one I did.
Right.
Well, the one of the New Zealand ones.
Right.
Yeah, I
was
don't
it
think
North Island one? Maybe?
No, I never did North Island one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was the South Island one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it West Coast one where
Yeah.
where rained and
Yeah.
rained and rained? Yeah.
I remember you and I did a ride. We actually went down. We went towards where were you cross over to the West Coast? I can't remember. But you and I were riding, and we just got poured on for like 5 hours straight.
Lewis Pass, maybe?
Yeah, that's the one. And you and I, and we get into the cab, and we're just drenched.
I remember you talking about maybe it was last week on the show about when you're training and you're getting really, really tired.
Yeah.
And because you were talking about team racing.
Okay.
And adventure racing.
Yeah.
And how it would be difficult to go with no sleep and just go and go and go and go. And yet you have to work with your teammates.
Yeah.
And Epic Camp was a lot like that. And we did have some blow-ups. I remember, particular on that camp down the West Coast. You probably remember this.
I was there, yeah.
You were there that year. And two best friends, just were about to beat the crap out of each other. And
That was true.
it did strain their friendship. It really did, that camp. So yeah, both of them were just shattered and just about to come to blows.
And one of them was obviously a little bit stronger, and then when he kind of went to the next level, that guy knew to shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, there was.
So yeah, we had so many good camps.
Where did the germ of the idea start?
Well, it was an idea. Gordo and I trained a lot together from about 2001, I think.
Yeah.
And when he was just starting out, wanting to be a pro triathlete, and so somewhere around 2002, we came up with the idea that wouldn't it be nice to do two things: have a big camp. And because he was coaching, so was I, and it's like give the people the opportunity to see what the pros train like, and just make it more of an adventure, and also give people who have done lots of Ironmans the opportunity to do something different, other than just go to another Ironman. If you once you've done 10 of them, like Andrew Charles, a good example. John Mergler, what else is there in triathlon other than just going to races? And so that's how the idea germinated and got off the ground.
Like, seriously, if you ever get a chance to do an Epic Camp, make sure you do, because it really is just a life-changing experience, isn't it? Like you just and as you said, the germ of the idea was to get people to experience what a real pro lives like. Yeah. And you do, man. You just and you're just self-discovery. Yeah. Even if Ironman athletes are pretty tough people anyway. Yeah. But you just realize there's more. Yeah. Like you just realize. Like I remember there's days where you're just like, I can't even get out of bed. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're killing it. You're not just surviving, you're actually blitzing it. And there's just something about that environment. Yeah. That just brings something out of you, eh? Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, next question. Ian Wood's got the secret to staying competitive and injury-free, which we'll kind of do. Actually, we might leave that because it's kind of...
That's my main topic for my coach's corner.
Okay, Arnold's got, what are your thoughts on racing the 70.3 with the current 10-meter draft zone?
It's not enough. No, not at the speeds they're going. 45K an hour. Yeah. If you're sitting third or fourth or fifth wheel, you're sitting in a big old draft.
So what would you like?
I think 12 is the minimum, but 20 is probably the best.
But then what about the pass factor?
It's very hard. I think the passing part should be changed.
So what would you like?
Well, Lucy Charles got a penalty for passing on the inside the other day on the racetrack. That was one thing. And then there was another woman who who dropped into the middle. She didn't go she didn't pass everybody at once, right? And so with a 20-meter draft rule, it should be that, I think, if you pass somebody, you stay to the side of them. You don't pull straight in front of them. You stay to the side of them until you're, let's say, 10 meters ahead. Yep. And then the person behind
has to move back.
Okay. So you can drop in and then drop back. Okay. So you don't have to go past 7 people. Yeah. That's 180 meters or whatever, and so there should be some way that you can drop into the line,
And the line sorts itself out.
and the line sorts itself
Yeah.
out. So it's not just on the person having to pass everybody. It's not just on them, but everybody who's in the pack or in the line, I should say.
Because if you're 180 meters to get to the front, it's a massive effort.
Yeah.
You know, and
You're
endurance sport.
You're sitting at the red line already.
Yeah.
You know, if we're talking watts,
Yeah.
for example, in the men, you know, Lionel sitting at 350 watts, you know, you're going to have to go 450, 500 for a minute or two. You know, so anyway, I think it messes up the dynamic of the race to have the rules such that they are now, even with a 20-meter draft rule, which I think is probably the ideal. You know, you still have to adapt the rules a little bit.
What are your thoughts on Sanders?
I like the guy.
Yeah.
I think he's good for the sport and amazing story.
Yeah.
You know, being in his mother's basement, you know, doing what he was doing. You know, and coming out of that life and finding triathlon, you know, and his whole story is just amazing.
Yeah. And to get to this level. Because there's a lot of good stories.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good guys who have been age groups and got to pros.
Yeah.
But to be at this level where you really are a top competitor and winning tough races, you don't see that a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's a good story because there's so many people, you know, I listen to, for instance, the Rich Roll podcast a lot. And he's good at bringing these stories to light where, you know, he always asks the person at the end who's, let's say, he would ask Lyle Sanders, you know, what's the takeaway? What can you tell the person who's living in their mother's basement, you know, using drugs and is thinking there's just no hope, there's no way out, I can't change. There's, you know, what do you say to that person? And you know, and the Lionel story is like, yes, you know, you can thrive, you can do it, it can be done. I'm living proof, you know, that you can change your life.
Yeah, pretty awesome stuff. Paul Williams, Scott was the star.